Hello, and welcome to another conversation inside of a podcast I call 33 Conversations. And it's a podcast for founders, people that are building meaningful things in the world, and everybody sharing their story to create connectivity and community. We all need it. It's a part of how we support our systems, or support our systems, support ourselves inside the systems that we're in and the world that we're in, and to create what's there for us to make the world a better place. And today, I have the honor of having my guest Sophia on the pod today. Sophia, you pronounce your last name Bosch? Bosch?
Bosk.
Bosch. Bosk. Okay. All the names, Sophia Maria Bosch. And you are in Brooklyn,
Yes, Brooklyn, New York
and
City.
you are a bilingual special education teacher, and you're a founder of MAMU.
Yes.
Right? Yeah, I pronounced it right. After 8 pods, I don't know if I can even talk anymore. So I'm so happy that I got that out. But I just want to welcome you to the show and thank you for being here and sharing your story. It's about building inside of the thing that you're in, like real life, real time, which I love doing. I think that that's how we learn the best. It's also something it's got a lot of bumps in the road and twists and turns too. So I'm so excited that you're here today to share your story. So let's just kind of get it kicked off with just sharing with the people, a little bit about you, kind of how you got started and where you're at right now.
Sure. Thanks so much for having me on the show, Michael. I'm excited to be here. I
Me
am,
too.
first and foremost, a Mexican Spanish American educator. Really passionate about designing schoolroom spaces and learning spaces that are more centered in alegría or joy, and that really leverage the stories and the voices that are in that learning space. I have been working with youth since 2017, and the work that I do is really personal. I grew up moving almost every 2 years as a kid. I went to 10 different schools in 5 different countries, and I really struggled with school. And for the longest time, I thought that I was the problem. And my senior year of high school, found out that I had an undiagnosed learning disorder that I had been carrying with me through our school systems. So, a lot of the work that I do is about helping students feel brilliant in spaces and making sure that other students don't have the same experiences that I do in a classroom. And in 2022, I moved to Brooklyn, New York City, to pilot a bilingual special education program for the city. And it's all about experiential, small group learning. And I also have had the privilege since then of coaching a lot of new teachers, and really building a beautiful community space and program in Brooklyn. And the last thing is that in June of last year, I decided to take a leap of faith and to found MAMU, which is an ecosystem all about supporting our highest need students by supporting our teachers and our support network around those students. And it's been a wonderful adventure. And I'm really just building the tool that I wish existed, not only for myself, but also for the teachers that I work with. So it's been a
Those,
wonderful adventure.
those are the best stories. Those are the best things to create because it's coming from a lived experience. But my God, that's a lot of stuff. How the hell do you, because you have to take care of you first. Are you doing that? Yeah,
Yes,
please.
the best that I
Yes.
can.
It's a lot. But even the fact that you're doing it simultaneously, like how do you feel like this is all you do?
I think it
Do you
definitely
have
has its moments of feeling that way, but I think that also, this work, any work that you are working with people, you cannot do it alone, and so I think that
okay.
co-creation, building really strong communities and support networks, and really trusting in the people that are on my teams allows me to not have to be everywhere at once, and I am really, really grateful and very fortunate to have amazing teams both at MAMU and at my school, MS50 in Brooklyn, that have my back and really are cheering me on, and that also believe in the need for a solution like this. So yeah, it's really about finding the right people because I don't do this alone. I do this with groups and teams of people and communities of people. So I think that that helps with the burnout, but it's always a work in progress. I don't think I'm I'm far from perfect.
No, none of us are. Like it's just something that we all have to communicate at the same time. It's easy to get on a podcast or talk to people and you top line everything. That's really why I have the show, have the podcast, is to let people know it's okay to have the human side too and to talk about those things. Because I've been guilty of it myself, where people perceive me as having it all figured out, or, if I'm doing a lot, it's just even that you're doing a lot, they, oh, I don't operate that level. There must be something wrong with me. And it's like, no. And what you're saying is the key. And it's something that even goes in and out of my radar because of, when you're in that, it's easy to lose touch with your own community, whether that's your own personal community or the community that you live in. Sometimes that takes a toll and takes a loss. So you're acknowledging that you have that. I have that too. I'm getting ready to do an event and I could not do it at all if I didn't have that team of people around me supporting me. It just it doesn't work. It would get in our head and it falls out, because we have the passions that come from our lived experiences, which I want to talk to you about that and do a little dive into that because, the subject is special education. A lot of people probably don't have a clue about that, what that really is like in real life and what you're doing, but also how you saw the old system. I'll just call it the old system, whatever that is. And you saw the flaws or something that you were bringing to it that was elevating it, taking it to the next life. Like, but what you said was, I wanted to build a thing that I never had. And I think most of us at some level, what we're building, the successful people are coming from that space because there's a mission and a passion there. And that often brings up all of the gooey stuff of life at the same time. So
Right.
can you share just a little bit about how it started to see like some specifics about what you were experiencing and how that sparked what you're building? And I definitely want to dive into the product, like what it is and that type of stuff. So people have a sense of what that is, that ecosystem that
Yeah,
you're building and what the
sure.
name means. Do you mean something to the span?
Yes.
Like, okay. Share all that with me. Yes. Go.
Okay. So I always like to start from the students because that is my why. I think the little
Yeah.
Sophia needed classroom spaces that were more like this. And I would say the first thing that I noticed, especially when I moved to Brooklyn and was very formally building a school within the Department of Education in New York City, was that it's not even educators' fault sometimes, but the system and the pipeline of just like there not being strong enough teacher pipeline and teacher training programs. And then when they get to the classroom, like the intersectionality and the layers to how many needs students have today in 2026 is insane. We have social emotional needs and learning needs and language needs and students that like missed years of learning from like the years of the pandemic. And also we have a current kind of like political landscape and world that is not valuing the bodies of children that identify as neurodiverse or who identify as multilingual. And so I think that it's a really, really challenging time to be a teacher. And it's a very challenging time to figure out how to best support these students. And I think that I always like to think about this like intersection point because I think that the United States does have a very long history of trying to support multilingual students. As a nation, the fabric of our nation is we are a nation built by immigrants, multilingual learners in the United States. And so I think that there are some good supports. And since the 60s and the civil rights movement, we have had very structured, obviously, baby steps and always needing to grow, but we have had the beginnings of disability rights advocacy and like an acceptance of neurodiversity and very strong federal level special education laws like IDEA that ensure that all like neurodiverse and students with additional needs have the supports that they need to be able to access free and public education in this country. Again, none of this is perfect, but I think we very rarely sit and think about the intersection and what happens when you have a teacher that's supporting students not in one of these categories, but in both. And so one, like the students often are being left behind and they're not being supported. And then also the teachers don't have the resources or the people to be able to support like the vast needs that these children have. And there are many like needs beyond just the teacher as well. I will say, like, part of this ecosystem that I can talk about later is like there are so many other adults and stakeholders that need to be brought into conversations to really help a student be
Yeah.
successful. Um, but yeah, and the biggest thing that I was seeing is like it's very easy for you to be a first-time bilingual special education teacher and to be like, I'm burning out and I don't have enough hands and my to-do list is never ending and I have all of this compliance paperwork from a special education and a law side and I also have to modify and accommodate all the materials for my kids and I have to make sure that I understand every content area because we tend to be generalists and we have to be experts in all of the content areas that are being taught in the class. So it's like it's a hard job. And then I started to train teachers and I was watching the same burnout and I'm trying to coach teachers and to support teachers. And it was like, I still couldn't be everywhere at once. And I have one wonderful teacher on my team. Her name is Ms. Vasquez. And I remember one day I was explaining to her like how to modify a material or how to really engage with a student with X need. And so we were going back and forth and I said, think about this, give them these key vocabulary words, blah, blah, blah. And she turns and she looks at me and she was like, oh, that was so helpful. I wish I could just have you in my pocket all the time. And I looked at her and I was like, I don't know what that looks like, but that's an interesting
I'm a,
idea. Yeah,
that,
exactly. I'm going to start to look like, is there, we were also kind of, when the idea of MAMU came around, it was about a year ago. We were kind of on this like new AI wave where like, all of the chat GPTs and things like that had come
yeah.
out.
Yeah.
And so I was like, there's got to be something. There's got to be a way to leverage all of the technology out there and to design it for this intersection, right? Because most things aren't designed with this intersection with the highest need students in mind. It's an add-on later on in the development process of like a solution or a tool. Um, and so it started as just an idea. I looked at what this could look like. It was a curiosity. I was like, how could I build something? And I think the long story, less long, is that by the end of last school year, June of last year, I had a lot of people, mostly teachers on my team, friends, colleagues, that were like, what are you waiting for? Like, you should take the jump and the leap head first. Like, we think you're onto something. And I'm super fortunate that my father it was in kind of a career gap, like had just finished a job and was like, hey, I agree with all of your friends and I would like to help you take this leap of faith. And so he's my interim CFO and helped me build a board. And he was like, let's formally incorporate it. And then from a team of two, it's gone growing and I've been able to build a really fantastic team. And so yeah, now we're at the phase where we've done multiple, like more than 150 product related conversations, empathy mapping, making sure that I know I'm building something that's not just my school and my bubble, but really is going to meet the needs of educators and parents and administrators, regardless of where the multilingual and neurodiverse learners are in the country. And now we're finalizing our MVP and we're hoping that by the end of January, like educators are going to be able to have this freemium, like first version of MAMU that is privacy first, student first, and of course, teacher first. In their hands. So we're really excited and we've done a lot of work. The last thing I'll say is that like the really important thing for me as well is that we're doing things intentionally. I think in the age of like rapid information and AI, it's very easy to just be like, oh, I have the solutions and I have the answers. But the where and the what are those answers is really important to me. And so I have a really wonderful team of interns as well. And we've codified more than 3,000 rules that are research-based rules. We've done a really vast network mapping of like all of the research out there of like what is best for multilingual and neurodiverse learners. And I'm working on publishing a paper about my framework. And I've been able to present about our 6 pillars framework at a bunch of conferences. I'm presenting in February at the National Association of Bilingual Educators Conference of my framework, which is really the like secret sauce behind the pilot program that I've been building of like, these are the 6
Yeah.
things that must exist in a classroom. But yeah, and so every part of MAMU is also research backed on like what is the best thing to be able to support these students. And so it's a lot. I would say, a lot more intentional than other, solutions and products that are out there, because it's also being built by a team, like a very rich research team that knows what the real needs in the classroom are and that are experiencing it every day. So yeah, I'm gonna pause there. I think I could go on and on. So I'll let you ask me like a
No,
follow-up
you're
question, or where
amazing.
can I get clear?
No, you're amazing. You're you explained it very, very well about what it is. And the I always try to listen from a perspective of listening to you, but also listening for people that are listening. And like what you brought up is like, oh my God, like my perceptions of education, what about, are you publicly funded or are you privately funded? Because your school private, it is
Yeah, so
private.
my school is no, my school is a public Title I school. It is a magnet school for debate and youth leadership, and I have a wonderful administration that supports me and also is very aggressive about making sure we have the right funding and supports for our kids. So we have a lot of resources as a school, and we also have a lot of administration-based support. So there are a lot of things that have led to the program within the public school being super successful. And then MAMU, I have worked in nonprofits. I've worked in many spheres, and I decided to make MAMU a public benefit corporation, a PBC. So we have a for-profit arm and a nonprofit arm. And the reason that I thought that that the for-profit arm was so important is like I want the best possible talent working to
Yeah,
design and to build a
yeah,
solution like this.
yeah.
And I have worked in enough nonprofits to know that like I do not
That's
want to
not the
build something
case.
that I have to be
Mhm.
convincing people
Convincing.
to fund
So
it.
smart.
Um,
You're so
and I
smart. That's
know
so
that's
smart.
yeah, thank you. And I know that schools have money because I get people trying to sell me their edtech tools all day, and I know that there's the funds within schools to be able to cover something like this. And so I was just like, I want something self-sustainable that has the best possible people working on it, and also so that I can have the most impact and I don't have to wait around for people to give me funding. Um, and then the nonprofit arm is where I can do more of the like gifting of licenses to schools that maybe the teachers need it and the administrators are not quite on board. Or also like my really big goal behind the nonprofit arm of MAMU is teacher education, conferences, community building, parent education spaces. So we're very much focusing on the for-profit to be able to then support our nonprofit. But for now, that's our structure and that's the eventual goal. And I realized I didn't answer your question about what MAMU stands for. It stands for Marvelous Multilinguals or Maravillas Multilingües. So it has at the heart like the highest need learners, and the momentum that I'm trying to build. I would say like this is more than just a product. Also, our first schools that we're
Yeah.
looking to partner with, it's a partnership. It's a co-design, and it's also I'm looking for people that are wanting systemic change. They're wanting to better support teachers. They're wanting to avoid this burnout. In the United States, we train like the last time I looked, we train like we have this training of bilingual special ed teachers and around 20,000 teachers. Like we have a deficit of 20,000 teachers that are leaving the profession compared to the number of teachers that we're training in special education. Like burnout is the biggest like area, and the reason being is because a special education teacher or a bilingual special education teacher
Mhm.
has anywhere from 16 to 24 more tasks compared to a regular
Yeah.
education teacher per week. So there's like hours and hours of work that are not being accounted for. And these teachers are not getting paid anymore in most cases. They're not getting additional supports or prep periods unless that's like an administration or a school based move. And so I'm also all of this to say like my goal is to empower educators and to co-create brilliant ecosystems where teachers can build these really rich special education, language and learning aligned student profiles that then are guiding lesson adaptation and feedback loops and really just like simplifying the process of like modifying and accommodating materials, but in intentional ways that meet the needs of their students and their classes. Um, so yeah, that's what we're working on.
And you're doing all of this. Now, I know there's so much misinformation out in the world and so many things, but
Yes.
like I'm living, I don't, you don't realize it until somebody brings up a conversation and I'm going in my head, I'm like, wait a minute, didn't didn't they do away with the Department of Education? Like, that's the vibe that I don't know where I got that from, but like, is that
Yes.
real? It's real. And
It's
you're still
real.
doing this on top of that. How is this possible? Like, you're building without the system, right? So
I
where
mean,
is the
I would say,
where is
yeah,
it
like,
coming from? Because my mind is going, were they doing anything? Like, is this exposing something? Because in my mind, you think that the entity is controlling all the other entities, and that's how that all works. And then you're talking and speaking like that's not even a thing. But it's, am I making this up? Because I feel like I'm in the twilight zone about 23 hours a day. So, what's your take on that? Help me get to the clarity here and what's really happening.
yeah, there's this, I think that the best quote that I could state is there's a Paulo Freire quote. Um, he's a like a writer and like a big thinker in the education space. He has a book called the Pedagogy of the Oppressed, and he has this quote that education is a political act, and I believe very deeply that even if I am somebody who believes in objectivity and questioning reality and like offering to my students like vast truths of what the world looks like and not giving them my opinions of what the world looks like, the reality is that education is incredibly political, right? And I think that like what and how we support our highest need students is political. And I think for me, looking at our political landscape without getting into the actual politics, like
Yeah, we're not going there, but
yeah,
these are
we're not
facts,
going there. But it's like just because like a Department of Education has been dismantled doesn't mean
It
that our
has been
students have not
dismantled,
already
right?
been. Yes, it's
It
been
has.
reaccommodated per their descriptions. Um, yeah,
It's
it's
like,
like
why in
I
God's
think that
name? Seriously, like, why in God's name? You are a teacher with such heart and passion that's doing all of this for the love of underserved communities inside the education system, because it is. And another thing that I don't know if it's true or not, but isn't the number of neurodiverse children growing? Is that something I
yeah,
made
our
up?
number of neurodiverse and multilingual children is growing because I think we get better and better our medicine and our like forms of like research and analysis and being able to
And like, you
diagnose
didn't even know
and
your whole
support
life that
kids.
you had it. And so
Yeah.
the awareness is growing. So it's not that there's maybe more people, it's just more awareness of the special needs that are occurring inside of the broken system that we're having. But your system, when you're describing it to me, is not broken at all. It's filled with like love and light and vision, which is what I see in all of the people that I'm talking to, this emergence of what you're creating. Everybody's got what the spaces that they're creating inside of a system that says, no, this can't happen. And you're doing it anyway. Like, in the face of no agreement, you're creating it anyway with the people around you, because you're doing this because you're passionate about elevating the level of education that children have, which is incredible, inside of a system that wants no part of helping you in any way. I find it
Yeah, I mean, I
extraordinary.
think we go back to like why schools were created, at least in the United States, and they were created like really the heart of education and of schooling in the United States came during the Industrial Revolution, right? And so there was this very banking model and like I would say like narrow vision of what schools and learning and education should look like. And so I guess going back to your question about like how are we designing or how do we continue to design under landscapes where students and bodies are maybe not being valued, or also like systems that are so fraught and like seem so bureaucratic and unable to be shifted and changed. And my argument would be like that means like we need these solutions and these types of supports and these radical reimaginations
Yes.
during a time like we need it
Yes.
now more than ever.
Yeah, ever.
And I
Yeah.
also think like a lot of times people are like, well, you're going to have to choose one, right? Like you need to be either a teacher
Mm-hmm.
or an innovator. And I say, no, why aren't
No.
our teachers? Why aren't our nurses? Why aren't our people that are at the ground
Everybody.
level in the problem the people that are innovating, and why don't our systems allow for that type of innovation? And
Well,
so
maybe that's why they're breaking
yeah.
down, is because they no longer fit the people that they serve. Maybe that's the thing. And whatever is happening out there, whatever they think they're doing, they're really helping us out. Because I see this in every single field that I am communicating with. It's some version of I'm building it anyway because of the passion that I see and the need, and I want to be a part of the solution because it makes me feel good to know that I'm connecting people, and I know that connection is a major missing right now, and I just feel great about doing that, waking up every day, and that's my mission. And you're waking up every day, and this is your mission inside of something. It would be so easy just to give up, and you're not doing that. And I acknowledge you for that,
Days where I want to give up.
but
I
you're not.
have days where I want to give up, and I have
But you're
days where
not.
it feels so hard and it feels like you're swimming upstream and that like you're the only person sticking your neck out. Um, but I also
Hmm.
think that like I have had to learn over time. I had a really wonderful professor at some point of like my life, and I can't even pinpoint the exact teacher that said this to me. But they told me like, Sophia, stop trying to boil the ocean, right? Like you care so deeply about all of the work that you do, but if you try to boil the ocean, like you will never boil anything. Like that water is not
Hmm.
going to get any hotter.
Mm-mm.
And so like I think that kind of mindset of like, okay, I'm gonna boil a cup at a time, and eventually hopefully a cup will become a pot, and then the pot from there will grow. Like
Hmm.
um yeah, I think that like I've had to learn that like yeah, that there's only so much that I can do. And also, even if systems are very harmful, like you can be the person that's trying to make the systems less harmful and to make a classroom space more loving and accepting and like open to mistakes and to growth as kids, right? So I don't know, you do your best, and you also try to like build those allies and build those support networks for yourself as a human so that you can continue to do that kind of work, so that when I have a bad day, I know that there are other people that are going to continue like leading the charge, and that it's sustainable and it's also not all, you
Sustainable
know,
and workable.
based on
Yes.
me. Yeah.
You're like, I used to, um, way back in the day, one of the programs that I was on was a program where you had to build something, that would you built it, but you built it to make it sustainable outside of yourself. So it's a really interesting concept. And so I definitely, it's very difficult to do what you're doing because it almost puts you outside that herd, outside of the group, because not a whole lot of people have courage to do that or vision to do that, or just, I think it's in your DNA. Um, and it's not meant for everybody. It's not meant for everybody, but it's courage, and it takes a level of knowing inside of yourself of who you authentically are to do that. So inside of the system, I have this working hypothesis that I am seeing and building, and it's like the systems that I thought were there to help us and save us, and not save us. There's nobody come to save us, but that version is shedding off of us. But I'm starting to see that we are the system.
Yeah,
I
I
think
mean, I
it's
think it's
reconnecting
also
itself.
about, yeah, it's also about like, I think I try to model exactly what I try to create and give to my students, right? And I think that that's twofold. One is like giving myself grace, and realizing that it's okay to make mistakes, and that like often we have more questions than we do answers, and that it's okay to iterate and to grow and to learn and to unlearn and to say like, hey, I thought this was this way, but like actually I made a mistake, and like I need to pivot and move. And I also think it's about, yeah, just like, again, not doing it alone, and making sure that you have the right support nets to be able to continue to make sustainable impact. So, um, yeah, and you take things a day at a time, right? You take things one
Yeah.
day at a time, like, and you control what you can control, because if not, if you like try to look at all of the things that you can't control and all of the things at a macro level that you want to change, like you're never going to be able to make those baby steps. And so it's just like how do I every single day create spaces where kids feel brilliant and seen and heard? And how do I offer my students real life skills for the workforce so that they're not like walking into a job and don't have the right types of skills? And how do I open their eyes to as many opportunities as possible, right? And that's all I can do, right? Is try to open as many doors as I can and to take things
You
a day at
are,
a time and to
you
create
are,
joyful
you are.
spaces.
And I
So,
know that those kids feel your energy beyond the words that are coming out of your mouth. There's a field of energy that's around you that they have to feel. I feel it, and I'm not your student. I feel it from you. You exude it, and it makes me happy to live in the world that I know you're in it because we all need to be coming. You're coming from your heart space, and that's for just like that's where we need to go. And you're doing it and you're teaching by
thank you.
example and you're building the thing that you wish you would have always had, which is there's nothing better that we could do with our lives. So kudos to you. I had a ton of questions, but like somehow we all said everything that I wanted to say. So I am so happy to be able to share your story. I know it's going to impact a lot of people, and I love that you said that what you're doing, because even though people might be listening to this or watching it and knowing that you're in Brooklyn, and they might say, "Well, I'm not there. I can't do that." You're reaching out to people that are not in Brooklyn, and it is translating, isn't it? Yeah. So it is
Yeah.
everywhere, and it's just great to know that like we're all emerging inside of a thing. Maybe the shell's just cracking and maybe this is all perfect, even though
Yeah.
it doesn't seem like it in a minute. You know, like you can't really get perspective until you've had a moment to reflect back with all of the spaces that you got that you went through to get here and what you're doing. You still have a smile on your face and a light in your eye. So, bravo. Is there anything last that you would like to
Thank
share
you.
with our, my pleasure. No, God, thank you. Is there anything else you'd like to share just like that's there for you? Like,
Mm, it's a very
you
good
know, because
question.
we're all going through a collective experience right now. You know, you live in the United
Mm.
States, you know what's happening. So,
I guess the last thing that I would say, we've talked a lot about loving spaces and like passion and those things are real. But I guess the last thing that I would say is like caring isn't enough, right? Like and part of the reason that I take these leaps of faith and I build these programs or I helped build this program and like have started this startup is because like broken systems are not going to get any better without better tools and better humans and better communities thinking about how to redesign them. So I guess that's just like the last thing that I wanted to say is like I think that we need to do more than care as a society, and maybe this is like an accountability piece, but it's like we need to figure out ways to support our students and like you can't make people care. Um,
mm,
but you
your
build loving and
caring though
caring
is
spaces and you
infectious.
tell the right and you tell the right stories. And I think that like people can't argue with stories and lived experiences in like a world where misinformation and facts are something that's so debated. Like you have to hold on to those stories and
Yeah,
to
it's the
those
only thing that
experiences.
connects us. I'm
So
convinced of it. I'm convinced of it. Like
yeah.
no matter what I've tried to layer on top of it, it's there's nothing on top of it. That's what connects
Hmm.
us. Stopping, taking time like you did today out of your busy day that you've already had to come and share your story, and this is gonna make a difference. Yeah. So keep sharing, keep
Thank
doing what
you.
you're doing. It's extraordinary, and I can't wait for this pod to get out and do its magic because it's gonna be good. One. Thank you so much for being here.
Muchas
You,
gracias. Thank you so much. Have a wonderful rest
yes,
of your
mucho.
day.
You too, and everybody that's listening to this one, yeah, just let this sink in and look around in your own life where you've been carrying and look what action you can take. Might seem scary, but just go do it anyway and allow that support. Allow that support to build up around you. And it all starts with a conversation to connect. So thank you for connecting with me. Thank you guys for connecting with me. I enjoy it. Have a great day, and I will see you on the next one. Bye, guys.